So as everyone knows, Luka Doncic has recently gotten traded to the LA Lakers. And this trade has sent everyone to disarray. The main reason is because no one can find a concrete reason why Luka got traded. Now, for the small minority that may somehow think this makes sense, they will bring up Luka's conditioning and how it's a problem. And then they'll bring up Zion, who's going through his own issues with conditioning. And they'll use that as a basis to say why this trade possibly made any type of sense. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to compare both players and their play styles and break down the difference between the two. And my aim here is to show that when I break their game down, you will see just why Luka's situation is different from Zion's. Now, let's start with Zion. Standing at 6'6", 284 pounds, Zion's offense comes from this beautiful God-given gift of unworldly athleticism. This is something you cannot teach. And this gift has allowed Zion to perform some extraordinary feats on the court. Let's break that down even further. Zion has two parts to his game, and let's start with the first part, which is his crazy feats of strength. Since his rookie year, it seems like Zion has been able to overpower anyone and everyone in the paint that steps up to him. Think about that. Some of these centers are fully grown, and Zion has been here since his rookie year, and he wasn't even completely grown yet, and yet he was still able to make some of these grown men look like toddlers. These crazy feats of strength include him ripping the ball from Giannis's hands. And although for a part of that time Giannis was not looking, it's still Giannis at the end of the day. Another moment is him overpowering Steven Adams in the paint. Bro, that's Steven Adams. He has had his own feats of strength himself. And everything I have just said about Zion applies to Steven Adams as well. So for this to happen to Steven Adams is not an everyday sight. This should just tell you about Zion right here. It's his frame and how he's built that allows him to do all that. But for someone that strong, he's also insanely fast as well, and it's crazy. And that brings me to the second part of Zion's game. That someone with that kind of frame should not be able to move like that. He's not only crazy strong, he's also crazy fast as well. And I think the speed goes hand in hand with the jumping ability in this case. So it's all a part of the same package. You see all that stuff Ja Morant be doing? Zion can pretty much do the same thing, all while being built like Godzilla. That's why he was the #1 pick in the 2019 draft. If I'm not mistaken, he's done a 360 windmill dunk on 2 separate occasions now. For his size, that's insane. When he was in college, it was even crazier. He was able to send the ball to the stands in a blink of an eye. Like I said, there are some things you just cannot teach. This type of athleticism is generational. And the last person to have this kind of athleticism before him was LeBron. There was a reason why he was supposed to be the next LeBron James. He was Wembanyama before Wembanyama. And he's shown that whenever he was on the floor, he has been a monster. But here's the catch. Having a generational gift like this comes with its drawbacks. First of all, when it comes to athleticism in general, for every player, Father Time is undefeated. So it eventually fades at some level. But Zion is nowhere near there yet, so this doesn't affect him. But I will tell you what does affect him. Another drawback of this gift is that maybe it's the way you land after the dunk, or in Zion's case, conditioning. You see, if a player like Zion is not conditioned well, he is much more likely to get injured because there's already a level of strain when using athleticism. But with Zion's weight, that strain gets multiplied. This is why Zion gets injured and at a faster rate. And the injuries become more and more random because the legs cannot handle that type of strain. But athleticism requires conditioning so it can be maintained. That's why you see LeBron spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on his body, because LeBron and Zion's game are very similar. Next up, we have Luka Doncic. standing in at 6'7", 270 pounds. Unlike Zion, that God-given gift I was talking about, Luka doesn't have it at all. In fact, Luka does not have a hint of athleticism. He's not capable of doing those things Zion can do. But yet, despite all that, he's broken records, explosive career highs, is a constant MVP candidate, and has already led his team to the finals last year. A top 3 player in the world. From an offensive standpoint, how is he able to do this? Luka has trained himself to develop insane skill over the years. And this particular skill I'm talking about is his handles. You see, there are different ways to evolve your handle. And if you can apply these ways into your skill set, you can take your handles to the next level. In Luka's case in particular, he has mastered change of pace. You see, with Luka, it's not the dribbles itself, but it's how he dribbles. More so his movement. There are 2 components to Luka's movement. The first is his control, but the second and his main component is his fluidity. As for his control, it's real simple. For anybody to be good at handles, some level of control is required. Now, the level of control varies between player to player, but that's the case for anybody that's good at handles. In Luka's case, his control pretty much prevents turnovers, like it would do for anybody who has handles. But for Luka, his control of the ball would be used as a building block for the second and main component, which is his fluid movement. This fluidity allows Luka to do things that would not be possible just for anyone to do. For one, being able to change your pace is now possible. Now, for a lot of hoopers that do not have this ability, they typically only have 2 speeds they can tap into. The starting speed, which is 0, and the max speed, which is 100. So hoopers typically go from 0 to 100. These are the 2 modes a hooper has for the most part. And since this is natural, it's only natural to believe that by using your max speed, it gives you the higher chance to score. But the truth is, those 2 modes are the only modes that can be used. And the truth is, that leaves you limited. And while it's believed using your max speed is the best option because it's the max speed, the truth is when you can only go 0 to 100, when you accelerate, you hope that your 100 is able to beat the defense. It's basically an all or nothing gamble. And like I said, this is limited for 2 reasons. The first reason is that sometimes your max is just not good enough to beat the defense. The second reason is that it's predictable. Since you're only operating at 2 speeds, and since your second speed is usually your max speed, the defense knows that's all they have to prepare for. Now, with Luka's change of pace, that changes everything because he can go from 0 to 20 to 57, back down to 33, to 60, to 80, back down to 46, to 90, to 100, and back down to 20, all in a drop of a dime. That's a problem. And the reason why that is because in a regular case, when you accelerate, you have a set number you're accelerating to. And let's say it's your max speed, which is your 100. A defender can prepare for your 100 because you know that's going to be the offense set number. What you can't prepare for are fluctuating speeds that are just happening at random. And the defense constantly has to adjust to those speeds. This can get tiring as it can throw your body and even your mind off. And that's granted he doesn't score on you quickly. So as a result, your defense will always have a limit. And because Luka uses techniques such as floating the ball, he can do this whenever he wants to, which means this has no limits. The reason why this is unguardable is because the defense doesn't know what's coming or when it's coming. He can do this anytime he wants to. That's dangerous. And people may call Luka slow, but anytime he has that ball in his hands, he will be faster than you whenever he wants to be. That's why a slow and fat Luka was able to lead his team to the NBA Finals last year. That's why he beat 3 50-win teams to get there. That's what happens when you have freedom on offense. And it's also due to his fluid movement that he can do moves like the step back 3. And using change of pace, he pretty much makes the move unguardable. And since this offensive weapon is entirely based off of skill, no type of conditioning is required to maintain this. That is why he can do all this despite his conditioning problems. It's because his offense does not require it. That's why Luka and Zion's situations are different. Luka's offense is not tied to his conditioning. Zion's is. And to prove this, these are the games Luka has played year to year since he got drafted in 2018. As you can see, until this year, he has played at least 60 games. Now, these are the numbers Zion played year to year since he was drafted in the 2019 season. Do you see the difference? Now, I'm not gonna act like Luka not having good conditioning doesn't present any problems to him, because it does. With enough wear and tear and overwork, injuries can occur, just like it would with any other players, and Luka having conditioning problems does not help at all. And the second thing is his defense. Luka's defense is below average, and while that is true, this is not a unfixable problem, especially when Luka is 25 years old. The best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, is not well conditioned either. I don't know if you noticed, and his defense is not that good either. But yet, if you watched him closely, you notice that it's improved. It's because he's improved it to a level where he can make it serviceable. The Nuggets has probably worked with him to get it to that level. So if this can happen with Jokic, why can't it happen with Luka, who's younger? The Nuggets knew, despite his weaknesses, that you cannot let someone like that go. In general, you cannot let players like that go. They do not grow on trees. Zion Williamson is also that type of player. He's barely on the court, but when he is generational. That's why you got the Pelicans holding on to dear life, hoping this thing with Zion works, because they know he's that type of player. And I'm not gonna lie, it might be over for them, but you gotta at least give the Pelicans credit for trying. Unlike the Mavericks, who traded gold for beautiful glass, but glass nonetheless. In closing, I do think Zion and Luka are players who are on two sides of the same coin, but they are not the same player.